Hey there, how's it going? Just wanted to catch up before the season kicks off. Honestly, I'm feeling really positive about our transfer business. Brought in some quality players who are going to make a big impact, and we did well to move on those who weren't in our plans. The season preview might not be in our favor, but hey, we've thrived as underdogs before. Now, opening against Vissel Kobe is a tough one, but I'm confident we can surprise them and set the tone. Let's do this.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 11 of Red Bull KloppBot here on Sean Does FM with Omiya Ardija. I hope you're doing well. And coming up today, we start off life in the second season of The Save up in the J1 with a pretty tough opening clash as we take on Vissel Kobe, and also of course going to run you guys through transfers and have a quick look at how the season did finish up at the other Red Bull clubs in America, as well as how things are going over in Europe. So if you're looking forward to that, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up, all that good stuff on this video. But yesterday, played our last game of the J2 season where really there was not much riding on apart from the fact we were looking for 100 points in the season. Also did the end of season review and got our transfer budget. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Actually, haven't spent that much of the transfer budget, but we'll get to that shortly. Here you can see what the J1 does look like for this season. Still at the local derby where we're going to be taking on the Urawa Red Diamonds. So at some point we're going to have a derby here this season at Omiya Ardija. Just going back to last season, because I didn't actually check on this during the course of yesterday's episode. Here's what the table did look like back in 2024 in game 2025. In real life, Vissel Kobe did look pretty set to be champions, but they actually bottled it late, much like they did in the League Cup. And the champions going to the second season of the Save are Kawasaki Frontale. The teams that got relegated, Sanfrecce Hiroshima, I think that's a little bit of an upset. Also going down, Jubilo Iwata and Pakusatsu Gunma, which I'm very happy they've gone down to J2, because hopefully I won't have to say that name ever again during the course of this Save, unless we do get them in a cup competition, which is probably bound to happen, because boy oh boy, that is an absolute mouthful. But we are still here at Omiya Ardija. The KloppBot decided we should stay here for our first full season in J1. But a quick update on how all the other Red Bull clubs are going before we get stuck into our transfer business, going to our first season up in the top div in Japan. And we'll work from the top down. So first up, we've got the flagship club here in RB Leipzig doing about what they're expected to do in the Bundesliga. Currently, they find themselves in 5th in the league after being predicted to finish 4th. We'll just go over and have a look at how they're getting on in all competitions. This time, they've actually made their way through into the knockouts of the Champions League, albeit it's the first knockout playoff round, so it does mean they didn't finish inside of the top 8 of that league system. They've got a tough tie there against Atletico Madrid, but early stages don't look like they've got much of a chance of winning the league this season, because Bayern are running away with that. Also got knocked out very early in the DFB Pokal, but things not going too badly there at RB Leipzig, actually looking a little bit better than they did when we started the Save last season. Now going over to RB Salzburg, who of course picked up the domestic double last season, as well as making a semi-final in the Europa League. They're top of the league, they're 5 points over Rapid Wien, and have made their way through to the semis of that cup over there in Austria. And this season, actually doing quite decently in the Champions League. Of course, did go further than Leipzig in the Europa League last season. These guys, they will take on Ajax. That might actually be a bit more winnable than the clash that Leipzig had. So really, these guys actually might be staking their claim to be the top club currently in the Red Bull pyramid. Of course, North America with the New York Red Bulls, those guys have already been knocked out in the semi-finals of that playoff competition there for the MLS Cup. So we already knew how that was going to go. They would make their way through the final. Pretty good season there for New York. But Bragantino needed a win just to give themselves a chance of avoiding relegation to Serie B in their last game of the Serie A season. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. They picked up a 2-2 draw there against Fluminense, so it does mean, if we go and have a look at last season's table for Serie A, that they did indeed get relegated. So we're back now to having one team in a second tier here in the Red Bull pyramid, but this time it's not us at Omiya Ardija, it's Bragantino over in Brazil. They are one of the hot favourites, though, for that division this season. As you'll see when going over to the media prediction, they should really be making their way straight up back into Serie A. Currently, they're taking part in the Sao Paulo State Championship. I believe that as we'll make our way over into the competitions tab. They are 4th in their group, but to be fair, that is quite a tight group, so we'll see how they get on there. They are about to get going soon as well in the first round of the Brazilian Cup, but unfortunately, they're now down in Serie B, so it is looking like off the back of Omiya Ardija, that might be the club that we do end up at, but hopefully they can make their way back up to Serie A for next season. So that's a bit of a recap there of how all the Red Bull clubs are getting on, so we can get stuck into our transfer business. We have done going into our first season here in the J1 before that opening game, a really tough one. We will take on Vissel Kobe. You can see there our transfer budget remaining. We didn't actually spend that much of the £15 million, and to be fair, that's only gone down by that much because we slid a lot of it over into the wage budget so we could actually offer some contracts to some players who would quite significantly improve our squad. So a lot of that transfer budget did actually go into the wage budget. We only spent about 2 or 3 million of that, and to get a fair bit back there, you can see it there, 2.8 million in transfers in, 1.3 out, and we're still looking at actually selling one of, I would have thought, the most sought after assets that the KloppBot did want to get rid of. We'll just go over to the reserve squad and you'll see him. We're still looking to sell Juninho. The KloppBot, he said we shouldn't register him for our first season in J1, and he also did emphasise that we should transfer list him. I thought he actually did a pretty good season first year here at Omiya Ardija last year, but to be fair, we can sell him for somewhere around that 300k mark. Considering we only bought him for 20k, that wouldn't be a bad bit of business, but currently no clubs want him, which is a bit weird off the back of that season last year, and it looks even better down the bottom when you include the cup competitions and all that sort of stuff. Thought that was a little bit weird there from the KloppBot, but to be fair, we have improved in that area, so I can't complain too much. Just felt a little bit harsh there on Juninho, especially because going back over to his profile, his potential is for a leading J1 player. So not too sure why the KloppBot's fallen in our favour with him after recommending him as a signing only one season ago. But going back over into the transfers, also I'll pop up the graphics the KloppBot comes up with during the course of running through what we have done. We'll start off here in chronological order. And first up, we made a sale of, I think it was our third or fourth choice defensive midfielder / right winger, to be fair. He was quite a versatile player. Motoko Nakajima, he's gone down to J2 to join Omiya Ardija. To be fair, those guys have picked up quite a few of the players we were looking to get rid of. That was for a fee of £115,000. Didn't really play too much for us last season. As you can see, 2 appearances, did score 1 goal, but a decent J2 league player, could become a good J1 player, but really was only on the fringes, probably wouldn't have been registered this season. It does mean we do make a bit of a loss on him because we did sign him for 240k last season, but as you'll see soon, we did make transfer profit on a lot of other players. So that's probably one of the few that didn't work out for us here so far with the KloppBot, but Nakajima, he's made his way back down to J2 to join Omiya Ardija. And on that day, which was the opening day of the transfer window, we then started to bring in some players. First up, the replacement for Juninho, even though he hasn't actually left yet, but Lee Hyun-ju is probably our star signing, one of them going into our first season in J1, signing him off of Bayern Munich, or at least the Bayern Munich seconds, for £275,000. South Korean with 4-star current ability, 4.5-star potential, already a good J1 player, and looks perfectly suited to the advanced playmaker role that we use here in our system. So to be fair, he's quite a significant upgrade on Juninho, so can't complain too much there with the KloppBot's logic. We are paying him, though, quite a big wage. Those first 2 signings we made had to pay through the nose in terms of the wages, but to be fair, that's probably to be expected now that we've made our way up to J1. But there's one of our star signings going into our first season in J1. Lee Hyun-ju comes in to replace Juninho as that first choice central attacking midfielder. And on that same day, we brought in another foreigner, this time to improve at ball playing defender. But Bedisso, he did leave after that loan expired. And I did think that maybe we get someone just a little bit better. So Millard Kaur comes in, who is Iranian, not an international yet, but to be fair, probably not too far off at 9 caps there for the under-20s, that same current ability, but that potential just a little bit lower, but quite a tall lad, and looks super suitable for the ball-playing defender role that we do use. He should be a rock at the back end, only 22 years old. I do think he is quite a good pickup again, was on quite a high wage there, and we did spend 350k, so 2 big foreign signings there to kick off the transfer window. We go straight into our first team here for this J1 season at the Red Squirrels. The day after that, we also brought in Takayuki Tomo, who to be fair is our biggest signing in this transfer window, near £900,000. Once installments do get added on, they're signing him from Shonan Balmia. Those guys also in J1, bit of a lower to mid-table team, so hopefully weakening them. But he comes in as a backup right wing, a little bit of improvement on someone like Kawatani after we sold Gonzalez last season. And behind Fuki, Yamada does have a lot of potential, probably did overpay for him, but we had the spare transfer budget as you saw earlier still, got about £9 million that we can spend. So he comes in as the backup at right wing, is quite good on both feet and does look relatively well suited to that inverted winger role instead of the inside forward we do play on the left-hand side, but quite a versatile player. Should be quite useful for us to have on the bench. Our biggest transfer, which is for a backup player. So interesting work there from the KloppBot, but definitely a bit of an improvement there on what we had previously in Nagi Kawatani. Now, next up, we brought in another first choice option for this new season from Sunfreeze Hiroshima. Obviously, with those guys getting relegated, this was a transfer that did make sense, albeit quite a few clubs did come in for this guy, but thankfully we got him for £375,000. He improves Ohashi in defensive midfield, as you'll see now. Quite a good option there with 4-star current ability and 4.5-star potential. The 27-year-old, he looks like quite a handy signing, having previously spent quite a bit of time up in the J1. So hopefully he'll do a good job, might just improve that defence a little bit on what it was last season, even though he plays a little bit further forward. That defence last season was our weakest area in terms of the player ratings. Maybe Saito can help out with that just in front of that new and improved defensive line. So Mitsuki Saito comes in there for £375,000 from the relegated Sunfreeze Hiroshima. Next up, another couple of signings before we start to get rid of the players that the KloppBot wanted us to. Next up, we brought in Tomoki Tagawa as a new improved backup goalkeeper. And behind John Higashi, we got him from Blobblitz Akita down in the J2. To be fair, these days they might be all the way down in J3, and indeed that is the case because they got relegated last season. But Tagawa came in for £275,000, 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential, just sits nicely in between Higashi and Wakabayashi in our goalkeeping ranks. So he comes in as the backup, might get some game time in cup games this season, but is a quite handy looking goalkeeper, even though he did concede a lot of goals last season. Hopefully, if we do need to use him this season, that won't be an issue. But Tagawa comes in as the backup to Higashi. Before we got rid of some more players, we also brought in a new first choice striker, which is a bit harsh on Yokoyama considering he never really got a fair cricket last season with the injuries that he picked up. But coming in from Solezo Osaka for £650,000, our second biggest transfer of this window is Shinosuke Kanashita. Holy Sheeta, he looks like a bit of an improvement, does a 21-year-old on 4k a week, 3.5-star current ability. So be fair, it's only a good J2 player, but that 5-star potential, hopefully he'll develop into a pretty good striker for us. And also a bit of a sneaky attribute there that could be handy. 15 penalty taking, that's definitely an improvement on what we had here previously, but he was formerly at Solezo Osaka. Got a couple of goals over the last couple of seasons, albeit in limited games. With those guys, will definitely give him more of a crack as long as his body stays in shape, unlike Yokoyama when we bought him halfway through last season. And then we did start to get rid of a few more players, albeit first up, actually someone from our reserve team, a goalkeeper who we got on a free last season. And João Vinicius, he's gone down to J2 with the Tokushima Vortex for a fee rising to £200,000. Did have a bit of potential, but being a foreigner and with us having quite a few local goalkeeping options these days, that did feel like a good transfer according to the KloppBot. Nice bit of transfer profit from us there, considering, as I said, we picked him up on a free last season. So Vinicius, he's gone after being out under 18s last season, then going back to the incomings. Our last couple going to the start of this new season were frees that we did sort out before their contracts did expire with their previous club. Shugo Tanabe comes in as a defensive option from Kawasaki Frontale, and he looks a really good option too, because he can cover all three positions at the back, but we'll mostly be using him as a new backup right back in behind Sebastian Figueiredo, but with 3-star current ability and 4-star potential on a free. I actually think that's a very good bit of business there for the 23-year-old. You can see had a bit of experience as well in J1, as well as a loan spell there at JF United Chiba. Thankfully, did not decide to go back to his former club. He decided to come to the J2 champions in the Red Squirrels. So a good bit of versatility there. Really good bench option with all those positions that he can cover, but mainly, as I said, going to use him as that right back and behind Figueiredo. And the last signing that we've made so far, still got a lot of money, so we could make some young signings, but to be fair, this was all we needed to do to complete our squad registration, was Daisuke Matsumoto from Makita Zalvera. Of course, the team still down in J2 because they didn't quite make their way up through the playoffs last season, but he is a centre-back to go alongside our Iranian and core. 27 years old, so it's a fair bit older but does look pretty good again. And that ball-playing defender role does mean a bit of an upgrade on what we had last season. As I said, that was one of our weaker areas in terms of player ratings, so the KloppBot was definitely quite keen to improve in that area. To be fair, we were looking at signing someone else, but unfortunately, they decided to go to somewhere like Koda Sanga. So instead, we had to go for this guy as one of our backup options on a free. But to be fair, another player with some decent J1 experience. That's what we've done in terms of the incomings. Off the back of that, just to get rid of some players who weren't going to be registered. First up, the previous backup right back to Figueiredo, Kazuma Okamoto. He went to Imabari for £400,000. As you can see, really not good enough for J1. So even though he was handy as a backup for us last season, he goes down to Imabari, and we make a nice bit of transfer profit on him here, considering that we only got him on a free going into that first season last year. Also, again to Imabari, got rid of Tatsuya Tabira, who was one of our starting centre-backs for a large chunk of last season. Unfortunately, because of homegrown rules, you have to keep hold of the likes of Urakami as well as Nuki. So Tabira was the obvious option to let go of there at the back. That for a fee of £350,000 again. That's a player that we picked up on a free. So again, some good business there, but Imabari, they should be quite good at the back this season with those signings they have made off of us. We'll see how they get on if they can make their way up to the J1 for next season. Off the back of a couple of loans, because these players we were looking to get rid of before their contracts expire come the end of this season, but no one was interested in buying them. So first up, Haruki Nishimura, who was our third choice goalkeeper last season. We've loaned him out to Naradown in J3 with that addition of Tagawa. Didn't really need him as a fourth goalkeeper here, so he wasn't going to be registered. We've loaned him out there to J3 as transfer listed, but his contract does expire once we go over to details at the end of this year. So we'll just make sure that we're not paying his wages until he leaves on a free. But we did pick him up on a free last season, so to be fair, that won't hurt us too much in terms of monetary impact. And also, we loaned out Kawatani with that addition of Yukotomo. As I said, he wouldn't be registered this season. He's also gone down to J3 at Mito Hollyhock. Again, with that current ability only being good for that league, and really that potential, meaning he shouldn't really get up to too much up in the J1. The contract, again, that runs out for him at the end of this season. So again, just making sure that we're not paying his wages before he departs at the end of the season. But again, that's a player we picked up on a free. To be fair, actually did a pretty good job for us last season, especially off the back of the sale of Gonzalez. But yeah, probably not cut for J1 football, so he's gone down there to the J3 in our last sale that we did make for now. As I said, hopefully also get rid of Juninho, the poor bugger, seeing as the KloppBot doesn't like him anymore. But Nguyen Tin Lin, a little bit harsh, but he's a striker we've let go of. He was third choice, but because Osawa is homegrown club, this was the guy that the KloppBot did recommend selling. He's gone down to Renofa Yamaguchi in J2 for £275,000. So to be fair, that's one of our biggest sales in this transfer window. Decent J2 talent. Obviously, we knew that after we brought him in as a Nakano replacement last season. He actually did a really good job, especially because Yokoyama didn't get too much football when we signed him halfway through the season. But 22 games, 15 goals. So as I said, a little bit harsh, but to be fair, the KloppBot did make a profit on him after recommending him to us last season. We bought him for 120k and did sell him for 275. So that's what's happened in terms of transfers going into our first season in the J1. A little bit of change, but to be fair, most of that change does come in some squad player type roles. If we go over to what our squad does look like going into this new season, thankfully no injuries to any first choice players. Do have a virus hanging around, which we'll get to shortly. But here's our first choice 11. Most of the changes, they come down the middle. We've got Kora Matsumoto at centre back just in front of them. We've got Saito Damas is still there in box-to-box midfield, but then we've got Lee Hyunju coming in the attacking midfield, and Kinoshita up top as our new first choice. So a lot of changes down the middle, but our wings, they stay pretty much the same. Kanada at left back, he came in late last season. The promising Ivorian in behind Anholi at left wing, and Yamada at right wing, with Figueiredo still at right back. And of course, Higashi is still in goal. So lots of changes down the middle, but hopefully we'll still go decently here this season. Our first one in J1 on paper. It definitely improved us in terms of that season preview, because previously we were 20th, now we're 19th. But to be fair, the odds before were 2,000 to 1. These days we've halved those. So I think we have improved, but certainly this is going to be a pretty tough season on paper for us here at Omiya Ardija, but to be fair, even last season, we were only predicted to be lower mid-table, and we won the league very comfortably, so we'll see how we get on. Only one new manager in J1, and to be fair, that's a job that we got offered an interview for at Yokohama F. Marinos, but of course, we turned that down because we're the KloppBot's puppet, but hopefully we can do a decent job here and just make sure we have a solid first season in the J1, but to be fair, very tough task. First up, we take on the preseason favourite, the team who really looked like they were going to win the title last season until bottling it late, in Vissel Kobe. They're going to take a heck of a lot of beating. They come to this one off the back of a pretty good preseason, albeit we actually had a pretty good one as well, winning all our games by scorelines of 4-1. Their captain is Ishihara, who can cover pretty much everywhere across the back line there. One cap for the national team, albeit is injured for this first game of the season, so maybe that might help us out here, just trying to see what that injury is. Lower back stress fracture definitely won't be featuring in this game, so we'll skip over him. Next up, their vice captain, that is Sakai, not the one at Auckland FC, but the vice captain, 34 years old, covers pretty much the same positions as the captain does. 4.5-star current ability and potential and lots of caps as well for the national team, albeit is currently underbid from Cincinnati in the MLS, but he'd probably start this one with the captain being ruled out. But to be fair, is getting on those physicals don't look too good, but certainly handy player previously, having spent some time in the Bundesliga. The key player, though, is the goalkeeper, which does seem to be a bit of a theme over here in Japan, in Daya Maekawa. 31 years old, is an international, and does look pretty damn good with a few of those yellow tributes. He could be quite good in the air, but that's what it looks like there at Vissel Kobe. Certainly the hot favourites here going to our first game of the season, but to be fair, it is at home. Hopefully we can at least have some strong home form this season to make sure we keep ourselves in the J1. As I said, pre-season-wise, our form actually has been pretty good. Once we make our way up here, we have beaten that team who got relegated, as well as Jubilo Awada, who, to be fair, the other team who got relegated, so wins there over a couple of teams formerly in J1 before being that J3 outfit that we did get rid of Kawatani to. So lots of good wins for us there. Hopefully that will put us in good stead for this season, but as I said, a pretty tough start here with Vissel Kobe, the medical centre, a few squad players who are currently injured. Shunya Suzuki, a broken wrist, is out for the first couple of weeks of this new season, but thankfully got Kanade as well as Minami, who are still at the club, and a virus as well has taken care of Wakabayashi and Rasayabe, who are homegrown club players who otherwise probably wouldn't still be here, but thankfully they're just fringe players, so those injuries don't really impact us at all. Going into our first game of the season, hopefully we can try here and put up a fight against the preseason favourites in Vissel Kobe. And here are the team sheets for our first game up in the J1. First up, as we ran through this team before all the changes coming down the centre from last season, but to be fair, on paper should make us a heck of a lot stronger. Here are Vissel Kobe, 4-2-3-1, so quite similar formation to what we're going with, but they're definitely the favourites going in this opening game of the season, being the pre-season favourites. Hopefully we can find a way to take some points off them at home. Now, it doesn't take long here for the first highlight of this J1 season. Unfortunately, here it is Vissel Kobe, who are on the ball trying to make their way out from the back, but poor pass there. Lee Hyunju can cut that one out for us there. Can the former Bayern be fair? So far, our passing does look quite good. Kinoshita puts it away. Holy Sheeta, we've taken a 1-0 lead early. Vissel Kobe, they get struck early here by the Red Squirrels. Let's see how this happened, because it does look like the goalkeeper there might have gone the wrong way, which is interesting. Kinoshita here from a tight angle. Surely that took a deflection there off the defender. Otherwise, that's some shocking goalkeeper work there from one of the Japanese internationals. But first shot of the game, and Kinoshita grabs a debut goal to put us 1-0 in front. And going forward about 20 minutes off back of the opening goal, and a free kick here in our favour. So far being completely all over here, Vissel Kobe. So this tactic might be a bit of a game breaker, it's starting to feel like here in the save, or maybe just a strong opening day performance from us here in the J1. Hopefully we can keep it up. And Haloti there with a shot, albeit from a tight angle, and a fair way out, gets punched over there by the goalkeeper, one of the key players there for Vissel Kobe. Still see the corner, even though did praise before that highlight, and keep the ball here inside the final third. They scramble it away eventually there to Lee Hyunju, who tidies things up, but that highlight does come to an end, albeit only a few minutes later here. From for us down our left-hand side, Damas plays that back there to Kanade. Now Anhaloti plays it back there to Saito, who goes back to course. Lots of influence here from some of our new signings. But over the top there for Ancelotti, does quite well to keep that in. Then a bit of a weird move there from Sakai. Then the ball finds its way to Dimas, who puts it away. Bottom right corner, that was an absolute mess there. I think they tried to kick that one out for a corner here through Sakai. It came off the post. Ancelotti gets it back, plays it in there for Saito. There for Dimas, takes a touch and curves that one into the bottom right corner. It's a pretty fortunate goal, but Vissel Kobe here, looking pretty average in our first game of the season. We take a 2-goal lead. In fact, before we can wrap that up, now we've got a corner here in our favour. Can we put them to bed nice and early? Or maybe they'll just come back at us now that we've woken the beast here in the pre-season favourites. But again, they give the ball back to us there quite easily. Good chance there for Holy Sheeta, but unfortunately, he puts that one over the bar. Still 2-0, but the highlights, they keep coming. As we see the free kick, will they finally get something going here? Vissel Kobe, they might be broken off the back of that loss in the semi of the League Cup last season. Of course, we lost at the same stage, but it did mean if we got past Consadole Sapporo, we probably actually could have a decent chance of picking up a cup trophy in our first season here at the club. But they're looking very average here, Vissel Kobe, putting them under a lot of pressure as they try and make their way out from the back. It's Bobson here on the ball up there to Koda, poor pass. Matsumoto can tidy that one up for us. Now we play it forward to Kinoshita, tight angle. What can he do? Pulls it back for Yamada, who puts it top left corner. It's 3-0. Still 10 minutes left in the first half. I think that season preview, that might already be going to absolute dust because we here are making a mockery of the pre-season favourites. Kinoshita, back to Yamada. Pretty average goal kicking there, but to be fair, it's a good finish. And we're bossing here Vissel Kobe with a 3-0 lead. And the action continues thick and fast here in our first game of the J1 season. We make our way into the last 5 minutes here of the first half now with that 3-0 lead to throw in from where we had won pretty similarly early down our left-hand side. Play it back there to our centre-backs, and eventually Dimas plays that one forward to Saito for going back to Matsumoto. Really, those guys linking up quite well, even though this is actually Matsumoto's first game in a Red Squirrel shirt. He didn't play any of the pre-season games, but everyone else did have a couple here. So they are still learning our system, but to be fair, is suiting them quite well. Ancelotti there does get a tackle on him, but thankfully does keep the ball. Now Dimas back to Ancelotti, goes far post there to Yamato. Saito with a shot there looking for the top right corner, but finally a shot of ours doesn't go on target. But stats-wise, you can see Vissel Kobe have done nothing so far in this game, which is really surprising. A little bit freaky, honestly, because I thought they'd be one of the better teams in this division based on the season preview, but so far we're just toying with them. We put a ball there far post from Kanade, but unfortunately can't quite link up. But Figueiredo, he is there to tidy things up. Saito, Dimas over the top there for Lee Hyunju, who picks up a debut goal. That should really be all she wrote in this one. It would take a massive bottle job looking at you, Istanbul and AC Milan, because it's 4-0. This has been a heck of a first half from us here in the J1. To be fair, lots of impact as well from our new signings, but also Dimas. That's now a goal and an assist for him. To be fair, on paper, that probably looks our weakest area in this team for the season in J1, but couldn't find anyone who really improves us there in that area of the pitch. Looks like someone there is off the field for us, but apparently not. Might just made their way back on. It might be Saito, because he's down to a red hat, so maybe look to take him off at half-time if we hold on to our 4-goal lead, because late highlight here in Vissel Kobe actually keeping hold of the ball for the first time in this game. But then Kinoshita robs them of it. Can we even put the nail in the coffin even more before half-time? Dimas now looking for a second goal. I think they were searching for the top right corner, but just puts that one over the top of the bar. But that is a complete demolition job there of Vissel Kobe in our season opener. Let's hope that keeps up in the second half, but obviously pretty impressed with that. We have a 4-0 lead now. Really don't need to make any subs, but with a 4-0 lead as well, might not be the worst idea here to take off some players on some slightly deep yellow hats. We'll take off Saito with that niggle he picked up late in the first half for Shimoda. Also the Ancelotti looks like he's on a bit of a deep hat. So Kabayama, he can come on for him, but really happy with that first half. We'll tell the guys that 4-0 up in our J1 season opener. And it looks like the one-way traffic might continue here in the second half. A throw for us here, nice and early. Figueiredo plays that one back in there to Yamada. Shimoda there cuts inside. Lee Hyunju looking for a double. That one might have got a touch. It comes off the woodwork, but early stages still well and truly on top here of the preseason favourites with our 4-0 leading off the back of that. We've got a yellow card to Shimoda, and Yamada's picked up an injury, so we'll play things safe. Yukotomo can come on for him, make a debut in a competitive game. Also, Figueiredo and Dimas on some slightly deep hearts. We might actually bring on here Tanabe for a debut as well, but still looking pretty good with a 4-0 lead. And just about to make our way here in the last 20 minutes of this game, so far those changes we've made have just broken things up a little bit. Vissel Kobe have finally actually got a shot off in this game, and now the highlight here in their favour. Ball over the top there for Koda, who has missed it, and he was onside, so a big chance there for them to grab a goal back, but they missed the target. Now we're about to make our way into the last 15 minutes, so it might be a good time for us here to make our final sub in Lee Hyun-ju. Very good debut. He can come off. Thankfully, Yokoyama can cover central attacking midfield as well as strikers. That will be our final sub, but looking pretty good here for 3 points on the opening day of the season with a 4-0 lead. And we make our way into the last 5 minutes now of this game. Vissel Kobe are getting a few shots off late in this one, but that first half just complete demolition. To be fair, XG-wise, the scoreline shouldn't be that bloated, but thankfully we've taken our chances really well here in the season opener and completely ran over the top of the preseason favourites there in the first half. It's a 4-0 win, and hopefully that puts the rest of J1 on notice that we won't be any pushovers here in our first season up in this division. It's the opening day of the season, so no other teams are actually playing at the moment, so it does mean that early stages we will go on top of the table, but that is a heck of a performance. To be fair, they've all pretty much had shockers compared to our lads that support out the office there for Vissel Kobe, but a great start. We pick up 3 points at home over the preseason favourites. So a pretty big upset there in our first game of the J1 season. We beat the preseason favourites 4-0, complete domination as well. They got up to next to nothing. So hopefully we can continue that for a little bit longer, make sure we're going to be safe up here in the J1, and might even have a shot at some continental football for our third season here at the Red Squirrels, but that's talking way too soon. But that's a humping there of Vissel Kobe. Yamada injured, but thankfully took him off early. It's a minor one. He'll be fine for our second game in 9 days' time. So to be fair, big gap as well for our second game of the season, but that is an impressive start for some of our new signings. Kinoshita with a debut goal, as well as Shunju. Also, Dimas and Yamada getting on the score sheet, but that is a very impressive start to the J1 season. It does mean early stages we're on top, as I said, because we played the opening game of the season, so that could change, but to be fair, with that 4-goal differential, should hopefully stay that way until we make our way into the second match week. But if you enjoyed that first game of the season in our transfer business here at Omiya Ardija, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Just see when our next interesting games do come in this J1 season. To be fair, this should be quite an interesting one, making our way up from the J2. Next up, Nagoya Grampus. We'll probably skip that one. And to be fair, based on pre-season prediction, that's a team now we might have a decent chance to beating, even though that one is away from home. Off the back of that, Vispa Fukuoka, those guys predicted to finish 4th. So that actually could be an interesting game to come back for. Those guys currently taking part in the AFC Champions League. I say that, looks like they might be getting knocked out shortly by Shanghai Port potentially there. So it could be a game we come back for, see if we're still up there early stages of the season. And then a bit of a revenge clash for us at the start of March. Consadole Sapporo, the team that did beat us, of course, in the semi-final of the League Cup last season. So I think we'll come back for those 2 games in tomorrow's episode. Also see if maybe we can get someone to take Juninho off our hands as well. So until tomorrow, for that double header of Vispa Fukuoka, as well as a revenge game against Consadole Sapporo. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.